Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Kiddushin, page 37, which discusses a very important rule when it comes to which mitzvos must be performed everywhere in the world and which ones are only applicable in the land of Israel. We know that when it comes to certain mitzvos, for example, eating matzah on Passover, sitting in a sukkah on the holiday of Sukkot, these are mitzvos, including tefillin, that apply everywhere you are. Doesn't matter if you're in Israel or outside of Israel. However, there are other mitzvahs that are specifically found only in Israel, nowhere else. And on this, the Talmud explains. When it comes to a mitzvah which is called a chovas haguf, namely something which is an obligation on you yourself, on your body, so that's something in which you must do no matter where your body is, whether you're in Israel or out of Israel. However, if it's a mitzvah which is somehow connected to the land, so then we say it's only the land of Israel. And the Talmud discusses perhaps some exceptions to these rules and where it's questionable whether or not some of these laws apply in Israel or out of Israel. But that is the general rule of thumb. An exception that's brought here is when it comes to the laws of Arla. The first 3 years, a person is not allowed to eat from a fruit-bearing tree. You have to allow the tree to grow, get strong, and then only afterwards may you partake of its fruits in a special way. Now, when it comes to Arla, even though it's something which is really connected to the land, so you would maybe think it's connected to the land, therefore it should apply only to Israel, there's an exception that applies everywhere as well. But what I'd like to bring down is a very fascinating point that the Talmud mentions as a thought, which is in Hebrew called a havamina. When it's discussing what mitzvos must you do in Israel only or some out of Israel, it says the following. And I'm going to read this one line because it's so powerful. Yachol kol mitzvos kulon lo yihu nohagim el ba'aretz. You would actually have a thought process after studying a sentence above that maybe all of the mitzvos, every single one of the 613 mitzvos, can only be done and are only applicable in Israel. And then the Talmud says that's not the case because when it comes to, as we said, mitzvos which are connected to us personally, which is a chovas haguf on our bodies, that we do have to do them no matter where we are. But just the thought process that the Talmud even goes and entertains that possibility is something in which is very, very powerful, especially as an observant Jew who lives in Chutz La'aretz, in the diaspora, outside of Israel. It's coming to tell us a very obvious point. And that point is, when it comes to the performance of mitzvos, the thought process should automatically be that a Jew should be in Israel. In order to be able to do mitzvos and to be able to perform the mitzvos properly, it's necessary for you to be in the land of Israel. So much so that the Talmud even thinks for a split second that maybe the Torah would actually tell you, which of course we never entertained that this was true, but the very fact that the Talmud brings it down as a thought is the power of everything. To tell you that maybe if you're out of Israel, you're disconnected from Torah and mitzvos. And again, it's a challenge to hear that because obviously what it's telling you is there is such a deeply rooted connection of a Jew to the land of Israel that the performance of mitzvos are so directly connected to, and every mitzvah that you do is so impactful and powerful, especially when a person is in Israel, because of that spiritual air and connection that you are just being in that particular land. And therefore, how I interpret this as an observant Jew outside of Israel is it requires me to double down, to be able to connect myself as much as I can, even though I'm physically not in Israel, to be able to do what I can to support Israel, to be able to have my heart and mind in Israel, and to do whatever I can to show solidarity to the land. And that is something that we can do, no matter where we are. But again, of course, at the end of the day, there are obligations that every Jew must perform, even when they're not in Israel. But remember that you cannot do as many mitzvos out of the land than you can in it.